Hey, what's going on, guys? It is B. Avery here again for another video, another opinion. Not just any video, not just any opinion. This is my last video that I will be uploading for 2017, and this is my top 10 best movies of 2017. I just uploaded my top 10 worst. I just uploaded my top 10 favorite, which is my biased opinion, but this is my top 10 best. And when I say best, I mean the best as far as quality of the whole movie, of the whole entire film. If anyone would say, hey Brandon, what 10 films do you think should be nominated for an Oscar for the best picture? These are the 10 movies that I would list. This is the 10 movies that I would give them. I had about like 17 films on the list, but of course I had to knock it down to about 10. Have my list right here ready to go. I've said like I'm probably not gonna go into like an in-depth review of each and just go down the list, but who knows, when I'm talking I may feel passionate and just want to talk a little bit about them. This is a very hard list. I tried my best not to be biased at all. I just tried to just look at the quality of the film and just take out my own personal opinion and things that I like in my particular taste. But this is my best right here. I do have 2 honorable mentions. I really wanted to include these 2, but I can't have 12. I have to have 10. Well, I don't have to, but that's just what I wanted to do. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into these 2 real quick. I'm gonna brush over these. The first 2 honorable mentions are Wind River and Marshall. Wind River is directed by Taylor Sheridan and Marshall is by Reginald Hudlin. And I really did like Marshall a lot, and I kind of had a biased opinion, because it has to do with black people and this and that, but at the same time the movie was great, and Chadwick Boseman did a great job. But to me, when I consider best movies and like Oscar worthy things, the thing that really sells it for me is the performance of the film, of the characters. Is this an Oscar worthy performance? Did it evoke any emotions out of me? And neither one of these films did that. Not necessarily saying that the other films did, but these were great films, Wind River and Marshall. Wind River, that was such a different movie. I love Jeremy Renner. This is one of the better performances I've seen him in. There was one confrontation that he had to deal with a grieving parents at the very beginning of the movie that really just touched me. I love the way that the story unfolded at the end to kind of reveal what really happened. It was just a really nice put together film that surprised me because I went in with low expectations. So Wind River and Marshall, those 2 are the 2 honorable mentions for my top 10 best of 2017. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the top 10. There is no particular order for these films, but there is one film out of them all that I do feel that is the best out of all of the movies. I actually gave this movie a perfect score. It is the only movie I gave a perfect score out of, and that's 10 out of 10 for me. It's the only movie I gave a perfect score out of all of 2017, but the rest are in no particular order, so I'm just gonna go down the list. The first one, directed by James Franco, and that is The Disaster Artist. I mean, I've heard for years what The Disaster Artist is like a satire, kind of making fun of the movie The Room, and also just kind of the behind the scenes of that movie. If you haven't heard The Room, that came out in 2003, it is considered the worst movie ever made in film history, or at least in the United States. And I haven't seen every movie released in the United States in all of U.S. history, but out of all the movies I have seen, it is pretty bad. It's freaking horrible. Like you just watching it and you're thinking to yourself, what the hell were they thinking when they made this movie? I mean, it's just bullcrap. But James Franco got together with Seth Rogen and his younger brother Dave Franco, and they put together this biography, this documentary, this satire, this making fun of The Room, and it was just a hilarious movie. I loved it. I was cracking up in the theater. The way they brought everything to life, I just loved, and that's why I consider it one of the best movies of 2017. Next on the list is 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. It was directed by Martin McDonough and Frances McDormand is the main star in this movie, and this is fantastic. You know, her daughter, Frances McDormand, her character in the film, daughter was murdered, and she's just trying to find out, you know, what happened, who did the murder, who committed the murder. Also, Woody Harrelson is in this movie as well. And one of the things I liked about this movie is, of course, the acting, but all the dialogue. Everybody had quick, snappy dialogue going back and forth. Like, you know, someone would say something quick, but then someone would say something, you know, right after that, and then right after that, and right after that. And it was just, everybody was just kind of like frustrated with each other, with the situation they was in, but they, for the most part, everyone was able to express themselves with their words, and that came out in the dialogue, and it just really made a great picture. It was also funny as well. I laughed at a number of moments with the dialogue too, and there was a lot of sad moments, and it's just really a lot of people really didn't care for the ending of the movie, but I looked at the ending of the movie just like, hey man, you know, we got dealt a crappy hand, and we're just going to do this one little thing to make us feel better. And if it doesn't make us feel better, you know, oh well, but we're going to go for it. And, you know, that just kind of spoke to me about just how life is in general. It's just like, sometimes you just have to make the best of the situation. And that's what two characters wanted to do at the end of this movie. And, you know, I loved it. Next movie on the list is Coco by Disney. This one pays a lot of respect to the Mexican culture. Me not knowing much about the Mexican culture, I was trying to cover all bases, so I kept saying like Spanish culture and Hispanic culture in my comments in the YouTube section, and I got like 5,000 views for this movie, which is pretty high for me at least. And so many people was like correcting me, which I don't blame them, you know, rightfully so. Just like, man, hey, no, it ain't no Spanish culture, it ain't no, it's Mexican culture. You better give it right, give respect to Mexico. So all my Mexican brothers and sisters out there, my bad, I got you. This delves right here into the Mexican culture. And what this movie is just really about is just family, and you know, just chasing your dreams, and, you know, pursuing your passions, and just sticking together with family. I mean, like, no matter what, because I mean, a lot of people have good families, medium families, crappy families, but at the same, and I can't speak for everybody, but for the most part, your family, for the most part, in most people's situations, I can't speak for everybody, but your family, you know, is blood thicker than water, and those are the people that just know you the best and care about you the best. And so even if you have your differences and your arguments and your fights, and, you know, I have them in my family too, you know what I'm saying, but you know, I love my family to death, man. Some of them, they get on my nerve, but man, you know, I love them, you know, so much, you know, especially you, little bro. Love you to death, man. I would take a bullet for you, you know. And you know, this movie right here, the story or the plot or whatever, it was just so layered, and the way things were revealed towards the end, just it had so many things coming from different ways that I just didn't know. The soundtrack was dope, the colors were dope. I mean, Mexican culture is a beautiful culture, and they are so proudful in their culture, and rightfully so, and they showed that in this movie. It was done by Pixar Disney, and it's just, you know, a great film, one of the best I've seen out of the whole year. And you know, it deserves you know, consideration for Best Picture. Next on the list is Wonder, directed by Steven Chbosky. And this one right here, by the guy's name is Jacob Tremblay. He had a Treacher-Drome syndrome, to where, you know, he's born with a lot of disfigured parts of the body, and there's no cure for it. You just have to go through a number of surgeries, and you have a deformed face. And this one spoke to me too. I said it spoke to me, so you may say I have a biased opinion, but just the acting from the little boy, Owen Wilson, the way the story was told, how he was going to school, and then just all the camera tricks and movie tricks that they was using with, you know, with dialogue and just other sound effects, and the way there was, you know, incorporating the little boy's imagination of him going into space and him escaping all the bullying and things like that. The movie had so many different perspectives from Owen Wilson's family, the boy himself, his sister, and the sister's friend. And I like how they turned into, it was like you know, just 4 chapters in the movie that, you know, kind of gave you a whole spherical view of the whole thing. And, you know, I loved it. It was a great movie, great acting, great performances, great story, great all that, based off a book. You know, great movie. Next on the list is Do I want to say that one right now? Yeah, I'll say this one. This one was on my. This one was also part of my top 10 favorite of 2017, and that is Logan. I do have that right here on 4K. It was my favorite movie of the year. One of my favorite movies of the year. It's also I consider one of the best movies of the year. This is the first time I think I can say, other than The Dark Knight that came out in 2008, a comic book movie that deserves to be considered for Best Picture. Because not only was the action in this movie great, of course the soundtrack and score, sound mixing, all that editing, but the performances was too. I really felt for Hugh Jackman. I really felt for Patrick Stewart or whatever. They were acting the hell out of this role. In X-23, what's her name? Daphne? I forgot her name. Is it on here? On the back somewhere? Daphne King. Somebody people like, have your notes together, Brandon. Have your notes. You look sloppy. Man, you're whining over crumbs. But anyway, this movie is fantastic. Like seriously, I nearly cried at the end of this movie because this movie encapsulated so much of what Hugh Jackman had to go through. And just the story of him just wanting to be left alone, but he's just a loner, and it just, no matter where he goes, he can go to the farthest corner on the earth, but trouble will always find him. It's like he's cursed. And this movie just did a great job of, addressing that, and just another reason why it's one of the best movies of 2017 to me. Another movie, this also was on my top 10 favorite of 2017, and that is Get Out. Fantastic freaking movie. Everything in this movie was so flawless. It spoke to me on so many levels. It addressed so much real life in America, in the country. A lot of social commentary. The idea, the concept was just freaking unheard of. And also, I mean, while I love this movie, just something behind the scenes. Because, okay, this movie has to do with racism, of course, and like white supremacy and things like that. But there was even some white supremacy that had to go with during the making of this movie. And on another note, Jordan Peele is he's black and white. A lot of people don't know that. But Daniel Kaluuya, the guy that was the main guy in this movie, is an African brother. You know, and I love my Africans. But I don't mean to offend my Africans either, but Africans do not understand racism the way that black Americans, the way that African Americans do. They don't have a justice claim. And so they are always given roles that should be given to African Americans in this movie because they're less demanding. Another example would be the guy that played David Oyelowo, who played Martin Luther King. In Selma, that role should have went to an African-American gentleman because an African-American would understand the role and would mean so much more than if it be portrayed by African. Now, that may upset people, but that's just the reality of the situation. In this country, even in college admissions, there is a prejudice towards African immigrants and African and black Americans. They would, or any job in corporate America, they would rather hire a native or African immigrant over an African or black American because there's no justice claim. They're not going to be as demanding as us or whatever. And nobody wants somebody that's going to cause a bunch of ruckus. Not saying that black Americans and African Americans are, but that took place in this movie as well. Jordan Peele wanted an African American to play the role, but they told him no. Oh no, it's okay to get an African person. It's all the same or whatever. Blah blah blah. And that's not cool. I don't like that. Daniel Kaluuya, you did a great job of this movie. I have no problem with you, sir, or whatever. You are my brother, you know. But I do feel that role should have went to him. Still a great movie, still a fantastic movie. It's in my top 10 best of 2017, but that is something that I had to mention because like when they do a barometer test for like Harvard or Yale or Ivy League schools and things like that, they look at the percentages and things, and they're just like, oh my gosh, black people are doing great in this country. They're getting admitted to these schools and this rate. No, those things are not going to the people it should be. But I can go on. I could talk for an hour about that. But the reason why I brought that up because the film has to do with white supremacy and racism. And there was just some of that went on or whatever in this movie. So Next movie on the list, I believe this is number 7, and that is a movie that is in theaters right now, and that is I, Tonya, which was directed by Craig Gillespie. Gillespie, excuse me. And that stars Margot Robbie. It tells the true story or the true perspective of the Nancy Kerrigan and Tonya Harding incident that happened in the Olympics, and kind of is a biography, drama, sports movie about Tonya Harding. Great movie, great performances. I really did get a true account of how Tonya Harding grew up, and she really had a troubled, rough childhood, a rough upbringing, and it's just a great movie that shows how everybody is a product of their environment. Next movie on the list is the director Aaron Sorkin's directorial debut, and that is Molly's Game. This movie is the true story about Molly Bloom. She was an Olympic skier that ran one of the most exclusive poker clubs in the world, poker games in the world, Texas Hold'em, for about 10 years before she was arrested, and just kind of gives her side of the story. It is based off the book. Molly Bloom had a lot to do with this as well. She requested that Aaron Sorkin hire Jessica Chastain to play the role. The performances was great, especially Idris Elba towards the end. There was one more point in this movie where he was going back and forth with a number of lawyers in this movie, and he was just like, just hitting them with the dialogue, the passion, and the acting, and I really did love this movie. It was great. If you like poker, you'll love this movie. If you just like great movies, you'll love this movie. All right, we got 2 left. The next one is The Shape of Water, directed by Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo, I'm on the fence with, for the most part. I said this in my review because I thought Pacific Rim was okay. I thought I was really disappointed with Crimson Peak. I didn't see The Labyrinth. I really did enjoy Blade 2, and there was another movie that they did, but I really did enjoy The Shape of Water. This movie is not for everybody. It is definitely not for everybody. Mom, if you're watching this, I don't think this is for you. Yeah, it's just not for everybody, but it was for me. It was just a beautiful love story. Not saying that I agree with the love story per se, but hey, you know, it is what it is. Do what you do in your own life. Is, you know, I have a feeling. I don't care what type of job you have, what part of profession you have, whatever your sexual orientation is, whatever your religion or religious or spiritual beliefs are. As long as you are not hurting anybody, you're good with me. Now, that does not mean that I necessarily agree with your lifestyle, because it don't have nothing to do with me. But hey, you know, so some characters in this movie found love. It was just beautiful filmmaking, beautiful shots, beautiful cinematography, beautiful costume and makeup and design. You know, great acting, great passion. You know, great level of expression in this movie, and I have nothing but respect for it. The Shape of Water is a damn good movie. Actually, out of the 10, you know, there are some on here to where if they won Best Picture, I would be surprised. If The Shape of Water won Best Picture, I would not be surprised. I would not be disappointed. I really did enjoy that movie. But guys, the last but not least, I actually want this one to win Best Picture. If it doesn't win, I won't be mad. I won't be angry. I won't be irate. But this is the movie that I feel is the best movie of 2017. I did give this movie a perfect 10 out of a 10. There was nothing wrong with this movie at all. I was floored. I was blown away by this movie. And that is Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman, directed by Angela Robinson. This movie is a true story on how the comic book character Wonder Woman was created. And this is not a comic book movie, so don't let that turn you off. But the freaking movie was so damn beautiful. I have not seen acting this well in so long. I have not seen performances in this movie so long. The story and the way it unfolded was jaw-dropping to me. The level of passion in this movie by all the players, by Orlando Bloom and everybody else involved too. Like, hold on, I probably I didn't think I wanted to mention this, but I actually want to. Give me a second. I said Orlando Bloom. I don't know what I'm talking about. Luke Evans, Rebecca Hall, and Bella Heathcote. I I don't even want to talk about the movie because I don't want to spoil anything for you as far as the story, but the relationship they had, these three people in this movie, was like, it was so brave. And I even though I may not agree with it, I have nothing but respect for it. I mean, no matter what they had to go through, they were passionate about something and they saw it through. They made sure that it was going to come through to fruition, and it did. And it's just a beautiful movie. The score in this movie was just like, oh my gosh, it was like some of the best love making possible, topped with hot buttery pancakes, clouds, rays of sunshine, and every other good thing that you can think of that, you know, gets your senses going. I mean, it was really a beautiful movie. I loved the hell out of it. I do want to see it again. And so, you know, Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman is the best movie of 2017. I would like it to win Best Picture, but if it doesn't, I'm not going to make a big deal about it. But guys, that is just my opinion for my top 10 movies of 2017. Have you seen any of these movies, or do you want to see them? Have I turned you on? Have I turned you off? Do you agree with me or do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comment section below. Let's get this conversation going and keep it flowing. If you like this video, go ahead and give me the thumbs up. And if you don't like the video, that's fine. Just leave me a comment below why and still give me the thumbs up. Since you're watching this video on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Also, like I said, click the bell so you can be notified. Go to my website, check me out there, bookmark it. Look me up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's right there at the bottom of your screen. And I made it very easy by providing a link to all that good stuff there in the description box below. But guys, I want to thank you again for tuning in to my opinion of the top 10 movies of 2017, and this is the very last video I will be making this year of 2017. The next video I'll post will be in 2018. Don't know exactly what day, but I can tell you what it's going to be about. It is going to be my top most anticipated films of 2018. It's going to be more than 10. It may be 20, maybe 25, and maybe 30 movies. But guys, this was such a great year for films. I'm very excited. We had some great films. We had some okay films. We had some crappy films. We had the 10 best films. So what is your list? You know, and I didn't say this at the end of my other videos, my top 10 favorite. Go back to my top 10 favorite. List your top 10 favorite. Go back to my top 10 worst of 2017. List your top 10 worst. And list your top 10 best. Not your top 10 favorite in this video, but your top 10 best movies of 2017. What are the 10 movies that you want to be nominated for an Oscar for the best picture? Because you got mine. So guys, again, thank you so much for tuning in to my top 10 movies of 2017. Thank you for tuning in to my last video of 2017. And before you go, don't forget that my name is Brandon Keith Avery, and that's just my opinion, and I'll see you in 2018. Peace.